Lilly, happy Monday. Thanks for coming on.
Happy Monday. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I want to start off with just asking you where do you think the state of this country is as the new administration's coming in less than a week?
I think we're not in a good place. We haven't been in a bad place. I always have thought like we kind of lost the country when we lost the Civil War because that was like a big struggle between, states' rights and the overreaching federal government, and we've gotten to a point where I feel like the federal government is so powerful and the nefarious actors within it who are controlling the federal government, they have leached into every aspect of government today, that we're not like in a good place politically. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm slightly black pilled on like the electoral system of presidents, of politicians. I feel like they're all corrupt. And they're just, it's just controlled opposition to keep people fighting amongst each other while they're achieving their own ends. As far as like Trump, I think he came in 2016 with good intentions. I think he had an America First agenda. I think he does love this country and he cares about it, but you get into politics and you learn the big guys. You meet the big guys you're actually dealing with, who are kind of calling the shots. So I don't know what's happened, but I don't really feel that he's the same Trump that was in 2016. So I'm not that stoked, frankly, for this election. What I'm really banking on right now is that people are going to wake up. And I think that's what's happening. That's why you see the capitulation of these social media giants, because they have to like, they're like, we got a problem on our hands. Like, people are waking up to what's going on. So we got to kick into gear of trying to redirect, right? So I think that's why we have this mass following behind Trump now of people who were previously anti-Trump, like Zuckerberg, for example. Now he's like pretending to be all part of us and one of the people. So what I think is going on is that's just a massive redirection. Let's get the people, since they see us as the bad guys. We got to figure out a way to convince them that they won. They won intellectually. They convinced us that they were wrong, we were right, and we got to try to redirect the narrative back to where we want it to. So we got to quell this like uprising that's going on. So I think we're in a good place in the sense that they are working double time to try to quell the resistance, if you will, but in a bad place in the fact that they still are very much in control, and I don't see any politician saving us in the future.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't even look at it as like being blackpilled because
Yeah.
it is what it is. And
Right.
I don't know about you, but like the night of the election, I was actually on a live stream and I was in a state of shock because I had said the whole time that I thought Kamala would be installed. And I'm
Right.
like, and people, well, the people stood up, the people made their statement this time, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna tell me now you can look back right in hindsight and look at the events leading up to it.
Right.
Elon, Peter Thiel, PayPal Mafia, get behind Trump. These are the same people that were doing everything they could to get rid of him. Zuckerberg
Right.
didn't do anything. Did 2020 he was on a mission pumping all kinds of money to get rid of Trump.
Right.
Bezos, Washington Post didn't hear anything. LA Times didn't hear anything. Was it because and I've heard the response of, well, they knew that no matter what they it was too big to rig. It's never stopped them before.
Right. Exactly.
So how are you going to tell me that this I think they stopped the other side from cheating is what I think
Hmm.
happened. If it would have been a fair election, yeah, but he also would have won in 2020 in my opinion if
Right.
it had been a fair election.
Right. Because I don't see any more people voted this election than voted in 2020, right? I think they just, and like you said, it's odd when these people are coming out now. They love Trump when they previously hated his guts, and I'm not buying this of no, we the good guys won. We just convinced them. Like all these big news publications are now like more pro Trump, or even if they're not necessarily vocally pro Trump, they're not putting out the hit pieces like they used to. So it makes you wonder, okay, why is this establishment, why is legacy media now somewhat behind Trump? Why is Silicon Valley, circling the wagons around Trump? What's going on? Has Trump either sold out or done some deals behind the thing, or they're like, okay, we can use this guy, right? Maybe he's not sold us out. Maybe they just feel like we can use him because we've infiltrated his immediate circle enough, like his picks are not great. The people who work around him are not great. And, I guess they feel like they can just direct him wherever they want. But it is strange. And I don't see how people are so like naive that they see this as a win. Like, no, legacy media circling the wagons around your guy is not a good thing. That means your guy might not be your guy anymore, right? That's how I kind of see it. I feel like it's kind of a realistic way of seeing it. It's not like the most hopeful. I love Trump. Like, I'm not like one of these I voted for him all all 3 times he ran, but it is what it is. You got to call it out whenever it's something's going on that's weird.
Yeah, and I just keep coming back to, as long as technology, big tech, they keep advancing, they're just gonna continue to strangle us little by
Right.
little by little by little. I was
Right.
listening to a show this morning. It was from a couple weeks ago. Andy Scheckman of Miles Franklin, Precious Metals, and he had a guest on who hopefully I can get him on to talk. But he was his whole thing was that they put up Kamala, who was so bad that people would run to the opposition to Trump, and with
Yeah,
the
that's a
idea.
good point.
Well, when also where he was going with this was the idea of over the next 4 years and then beyond, moving us into a digital currency, and that's what this
Right.
big tech is, right? I
Right.
mean, because maybe we're at the end of the economic cycle with the dollar, and Trump will be the one to usher in this new digital currency,
Right.
and people will
I don't
run to it.
Yeah, I know. Like people, again, they had to get somebody that people really trusted. And the MAGA movement, there hasn't been that strong of a movement behind one candidate. I would say in American history since maybe like the revolutionary times, maybe the Civil War era. But since then, like try and think of a candidate who had such ardent support from people who were like rock solid behind him. And I feel like they were like, we have to redirect this, right? Because this is something that's hard to fight against. And, so they got somebody that we trusted. And then I guess they did some deals or whatever. But yeah, he's been speaking out a lot. I don't understand cryptocurrency. I don't understand finances or anything, but I can just conjecture that it's like all plays into this kind of one world currency, whatever. But we do know the dollar is declining. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. We're printing money like hand over fist. The BRICS nations are now forming up, and his only like move, I guess, would be to move us into some sort of digital currency to be competitive. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's better to go through a time of like decline and even depression in the country rather than sell out to this globalist agenda that's going to bring us all into, totalitarianism and where our freedoms are just stripped away.
Do you feel I've had people on talking about crypto, Lily. I still don't understand it.
Yeah.
I gotta tell. I gotta tell. I mean, I
No,
blockchain, and I don't get it. Like I feel
makes
like
no
I'm
sense.
like you have to explain this to me like I'm five because I don't
Yeah.
understand it. And even
Yeah.
still, feel like they've tried, and I still don't understand it.
Yeah. I would say anybody like there was that whole Hawk to a Girl scandal with rug pull and the meme queen and whatever. And so people always like compare me to her. And I was like, thank God. All the people like approaching me with like meme coins and endorse this or whatever. Thank God. I was like, yes, I know myself. I know I'm retarded when it comes to this stuff, and I will never get involved because I don't understand it. Because don't get into crypto. Do not get into that stuff if you don't understand it to the T, or you'll be taken. Because that's how that people make money there. It's like you have the sharks and then you have the suckers. And most people are the suckers, and that's why the sharks get rich there. So just avoid.
So were you getting pitched on? People were pitching you to be like a Bitcoin to do a
Oh,
meme.
yes. When this whole thing blew up, it was like nonstop. I finally just
Tell
started
people,
blocking.
Lily. Let me interrupt you. So people that might not know, because you
Yeah.
went viral. Your video went viral on TikTok.
Yeah.
What did you say? I mean,
I said, can I say it? Broke ass ends. Ends with the soft
and
A.
asterisk, asterisk,
Yeah.
asterisk, asterisk,
Right.
GGAS,
Nigga. Yeah. Yep.
and it just took off.
Right. I guess America's just primed at the moment. Like they've been trying to stir up these race riots, I feel like, and bad race relations for a while. And we don't really know what goes on in black spheres, but they have their own media channels, right? They watch black content, they watch black shows, they listen to black radio, right? So I feel like they're very easily programmed just because they don't consume anything else but that very small niche, programming that can be infiltrated by, I don't know, CIA, feds, whatever, and get them all amped up to be angry at white people or whatever the agenda is. You know what I mean? So they're very manipulatable, or because they listen to all the same stuff. Because I've seen this firsthand, like even on the plane, I would be flying and look over. Like I always got seated by the black people too, by the way, right during all this drama. And I don't hate black people, but it's it was a little uncomfortable to be by one when you're going viral for a racial slur. And
weren't you deemed? You were deemed like the most hated girl on the internet at one point.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would look over and I was like, dang, they're all just watching black programming, right? So I feel like they've been primed, right? So they were just waiting for something like this to drop. I don't look like necessarily the type of person that would be going around saying that. It's not like I'm not like a wigger. I'm not like half black or something. So it's very like out of left field, and it just set them off at the right time. So it is what it is.
What was that like, though? The venom and the heat that you must have taken, and messages and emails and whatever. What was that like?
I mean, we all hear about like people getting canceled, and you're like, oh man, that must suck. But then if it's like actually happening to you, and it's like thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands, and like people have seen this millions of times, and you're like, wow, somebody from every country in the world has seen this, and somebody from every country is angry at me, right? And when you get tons of death threats and whatever, you're like, there is probably at least one psychopath out of the millions of people mad that could show up. So it was like honest, I'm not gonna lie, it was really stressful because I was like, wow, my whole like life and career is like down the drain. I don't really see any way of getting out of this. Like it is what it is. So you either go underground, change your name, dye your hair, move somewhere else, or you like plow forward. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not doing that. So I'm just going to, I've got a platform now. I might as well use it to help fight back against this stuff, right? Because I don't want this to happen to other people. But yeah, it's very stressful. I lost 10 pounds in 1 week. Like I wish I could do that now, but it's just like very stressful. You have a lot of people coming for you. You don't really sleep well at night because you're like, well, it's nighttime. Somebody could like show up, right? But it passes. Everything passes, and you get used to it. And then you're like, most of these people they're just dummies behind a screen. So, you get used to it.
I was going to ask, were you worried, like walking out your door, had it gotten that bad?
I mean, I had been told before I got fired from my job that my employer, she was like, you better just stay home because there's like people outside the office place, and I don't want you to get like jumped or whatever. So, and I get recognized when I go out places. So I was trying to just kind of keep in the compound, if you will. But yeah, sometimes if I would go outside, I was like, I wonder if there's somebody out here. I kept strapped like 24/7. Like I had my guns with me at all times. So it probably would have gone worse for them than for me. But still, that is there in the back of your head a little bit.
So, well, and do you look at that now? Because it wasn't that long ago that this all happened.
Right. Like what, 8 months ago? 8, 9, 7? I don't know.
Do you ever ask yourself, I mean, things happen for a reason. And yeah. I don't know what you were doing before. Was it a corporate job?
Yeah, I was a marketing manager. It was like hybrid remote in office sometimes. So yeah, just corporate America. Wasn't like necessarily what I wanted to do, but I felt like I was like, okay, I'm on the right track. Like I'll get this entry level job, then I'll get a better job, and then I'll get a better job, and then I can, buy a house and whatever. But I think things do happen for a reason, and that's why I was like, I'm not just going underground. Like, obviously, this was meant to be. Like, people put out offensive content all the time, and it doesn't go viral, right? So I'm like, of all the people that it could have happened to, it obviously happened to me for a reason. I feel very strongly. Always been very political always been very like conservative. I've written pieces about like freedom of speech and the thought police and that sort of thing. And I feel very strongly about this. So I was like, okay, I've been handed a platform, so I might as well do something with it, because I already feel this is already something I would have done had maybe somebody handed me the platform instead of it just happening on its own.
Yeah, because you have the momentum going based from that.
Right. Right.
And now that you've been doing this, what is your opinion of the corporate world? Being that you came from that.
I mean, I'm gonna say it's nice to have the reliability of the corporate world. Like, you're gonna get your paycheck. You know what you're gonna go in. You can't just be like, because you and I know this. Any podcaster or anybody on the internet knows you can be demonetized at any point. You can get banned at any point. You can lose your subscriptions or however else you make money. You can say something that advertisers don't like, and then they won't want to work with you. And then there goes your career, like in the blink of an eye, where you don't really have that so much in the corporate world. Like, they still have to give you a 2 weeks notice, right? They still have to have a pretty good reason for firing you. Sometimes not. But I think there's more security in the corporate world. I really wouldn't recommend this, for most people. It's definitely not all it's chalked up to be. I mean, you would know it's not for the weak-hearted. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I don't think people understand is, yeah, the whole idea of like, oh, you make your own schedule and you can just take off whenever you want, or like, I don't get any of that. Like, we work all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the news cycles, and you have to pay attention all the time. But I'll tell you,
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with me on this. You never say never, and you do what you have to do, right, to get by. I mean, you're a mother, so if you do what you have to do. I never want to go back to that corporate world.
Right.
Because people are fucking miserable. Like, they're miserable.
They are. They're ants. Like, like, who was it? The Rothschilds that set up like the whole education. Was it them that set up the education system? It was one of those big families, and basically just to make good worker bees, So you're just a good worker bee whenever you're in that corporate system. But I think it is harder to break out of that, whether you like it or not. Like, even we're kind of still, slaves to the system. We're still like in the matrix, if you will, even though we're pretty much independent. But it's definitely better to a certain extent than the corporate world, that's for sure. Especially like some office job or like a cubicle job. Ugh, that's horrible.
Well, and you always have to answer to somebody, right? Because that's just the way life is. So, I mean, it's not like the people that I've seen on the independent media. You can't just say whatever you want all the time and do whatever you want. Life just doesn't work that way.
Right.
But the whole Sunday blues of knowing that Monday morning you're going to go to that cubicle, and then you're going to be around a bunch of people that are like that you would never want to hang out with.
Right.
And you have to be with them all day.
Yeah, that's tough. Especially if you're not like the biggest people person, if you're slightly an introvert, and then having to be like on stage, because it's like you're an actor, and it's like action when you get to the workplace, and you gotta please people, and you always have to be in a good mood. You don't want to piss people off. Yeah, it does suck.
And then you would have to take these, I don't know if they do it anymore, those DEI like trainings and stuff.
Oh,
so I have to apologize for being white. I'd have to take these training modules. Right. And if I didn't get like a 70%, I'd have to take it over again.
Right. Well, they really cuck you. It's like you will bend down. You will lick my boots, You will go through this DEI training. Why? Because you don't want to lose your job, because you got a house payment and you got a car payment and you have a whole life that is contingent on having this job. So you basically have to take whatever they deal out to you, because you just don't have another choice. It's not easy to get another job. So yeah, I think it's the cucking, and like, they force you to be a slave. Like, they force you to wear a mask. It's the same kind of vibe. And you're like, you have to take it. Now, obviously you have to respect leadership and whatever, but having to accept those sorts of things, and you can't talk down to this person because they're black or a minority, or, you have to take this class. It really hurts the human spirit. That's not how we're designed.
Or if you have a trans person in the workplace.
Yeah. And you just have to be completely normal with it, because that's normal.
They're so brave. They're so brave, Lily. They're so brave. The courage.
Ugh, I hate it. At least now, like if I see somebody that's annoying or like a trans person or somebody think that needs called out, I can say whatever I want now. Which that has its perks, right? I don't have to pretend that some trans person is like, oh, you're a beautiful woman.
You know what I want to say to somebody, like guys that I've seen, like, you can spot them.
Oh
I
yeah.
want to be like, dude, do you look at yourself in the mirror? Like, do you think, I mean, do you really think that you look better now than what you did before?
Yeah. It's really weird. There's again, it's mental illness, like what was it, the D70 or whatever. It's what is the term for it? Something
Fucked
gender
up in the head.
dysmorphia.
Fucked up in the head.
Yeah, exactly. Gavin, my boss, Gavin McInnes, he has this theory. He's like, I feel like it's got to be something like, in Silence of the Lambs, where that weird trans guy who wears the lipstick, he's like wants to wear a woman's skin, and he's like, his theory is that's what's going on. It's like this weird, perverse thing. If they know they're not a woman, but they want to like cosplay a woman, they get off by that. It's a lot of mental illness. It's a lot of perverse freaks and stuff going on. But yeah, that's quite the rabbit hole to go down.
Well, and also too, you come across these scenarios where these guys want to transition, but yet they're still attracted to girls.
Right. Like what's that? That's very odd. It's like that guy, that trans guy that I wish I could say the slur word for that, but I can't. But the guy that like does all those videos where he's like, he like goes to restaurants and he complains about getting misgendered, and he's like
No,
a dude. He's like a dude. Oh man, you're missing out.
you have to send me
He's
this. You
like,
have to DM me this.
okay, I will. I think it's on my feed. But this guy, he's like has a girlfriend too, and he just goes to restaurants and he just complains about people misgendering him, which I highly doubt even happened. But yeah, it's really weird, and no effort to even look like a guy. Like I mean, to look like a girl, he looks like a dude. He's got the Adam's apple. He's got the deep voice.
I just think, did you ever see the movie 40-year-old? Did you ever see the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin?
I saw like 15 minutes of it. I didn't finish it.
Because they sent Steve Carell in for a hooker, and it turned out the hooker was a dude and had an Adam's apple, and the guy, his coworker, set him up. And,
Yeah.
and the guy's like, if that was a tranny, that was the Mona Lisa of them. And he's like, you have to. I'll send you the YouTube clip of it. It's really that movie. The first hour of that movie is absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah. Most of those kind of movies are really funny. Like I enjoy that genre of comedy. It was like the last era, like the early 2000s is when like movies were okay. Now they're just garbage.
Garbage. Although I do want to go see Nosferatu though. I don't know if you're into the
What's that?
vampire.
I haven't heard that.
Nosferatu was originally
Right.
it was originally made in 1922, and which was a silent film. I haven't watched it because they say if I watch the original, the new one is exactly the same. So I want to see the new one first.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube, but it goes back to the Bram Stoker's Dracula stories.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And I hear it's very good. I watched The Critical Drinker. That's like my movie reviewer on YouTube, and he's a
Okay.
conservative like us.
Okay. Yeah, because it's a real bummer when you like, especially if you pay for the movie and then it's terrible, which most are. Like, part of what I enjoy about movies is like when they actually film on location. But now they're so lazy with movies that they just like CGI everything. It's so obviously like AI that I'm like, this is not even fun to watch. Like, I'm just watching, it's basically a cartoon at this point.
Well, and also, I just had this author on last week who you guys would have a really good conversation. He just put a book out called Crimson Veil. It comes out today. His name is
Okay.
John Slaughter, and we were talking about film, and he said something to me. I was like, oh, it just clicked because I go, there's no. I grew up with Julia Roberts was on the come up,
Right.
and Brad Pitt and Denzel Washington and Leonardo DiCaprio. He's a few years older than me, and on the men's side. Those are the same men that are leading the charge right now still. Ryan
That
Gosling.
is true. Yeah.
And women-wise, there's no Julia Roberts. I mean, Margot
Mm-mm.
Robbie maybe, but she's not Julia Roberts.
No. Yeah, there's not really like the day of like starlets is kind of over. Like you had Marilyn Monroe and you had all these really famous people,
Michelle
but
Pfeiffer.
yeah, yeah. but you don't really have that anymore, you know? Like there, I guess because there's so many of them now, like there's so many actresses and famous people that it's like now there's nobody that really stands out. But like I don't know, maybe like Hollywood's just dying. I feel like it is.
Well, and what he said I thought was really really fascinating because he was saying he goes one of the reasons is back then, and I'm going like 80s and 90s and even before, men had a
Hmm.
role and women had a role, like their characters.
Right.
Women weren't physically stronger than a man. So, but
Yeah.
they can manipulate all day long. So they would manipulate in order to get the man to do what needed to be done or, whatever they wanted. And those characters, they built characters based upon that to the strengths of
Yeah.
women and the strengths of men. Now it's
Yeah.
all boss bitches.
Right, which nobody watches that. Like, who wants to watch a superhero movie where like Scarlett Johansson is beating somebody's ass? That's just like, who's that targeting exactly? Like, it's not women don't want to go watch that. Like, I could care less. I'm not like I want to go watch a movie of a girl being kick ass and kicking some Russian agent's ass. It's not the target audience. Dudes obviously don't care to see that. So it's gotta be just like, like these anime little nerdy gamer boys, right? That's gotta be it. I mean, who else wants to watch that? Maybe black dudes would appreciate it too.
Do you find it challenging for your age? I don't know if you're single or not, but if you are, or when you were, like to meet guys that are like, I don't know if say alpha, but guys that like take care of stuff or
Yeah, a lot of them, most guys are pussies these days. Unfortunately, it's like, I don't know. I guess it's the water. They're turning the frogs gay. I don't really know what it is, but like I don't know. I just don't. I think the problem
did you
is
say the water?
each.
Wait, hold on, let me interrupt you. Did you say the water's turning the frogs gay?
Yes,
What kind of water are they in? What kind of water are they in?
fluoride. That's like a famous Alex Jones quote, but I think it's actually true. Like they did a study on frogs where the level of fluoride in the water, it almost made them. I don't know all the details, but it made the male frogs start being attracted to other male frogs,
Never
and
heard
so
that.
they're really. Oh my gosh, you gotta look that up. Alex Jones, gay frogs.
That's funny. So it's hard meeting men.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you meet them. Like, I'm not on dating apps. I don't go to bars. I don't really like go anywhere. I go to the grocery store and I go running by myself. Like, I don't enjoy the gym. I don't really enjoy any of the places where you usually meet people. And then even at church, it's like old married people, or young couples. So I don't know. And then I feel like with people, like you have to choose from the pool of people who are attracted to you. Obviously, you can have your ideals of I want him and him and him, and he's got to have this, this, and that, right? But at the end of the day, you got to choose from the pool of applicants. There's only so many guys that are actually interested in you, and if your personality and your pheromones or whatever happen to attract a pool of guys that are not what you would be interested in, you're kind of cooked. So that's how I see it. Because I guess I'm somewhat of a not really alpha. I don't consider myself alpha because like in person and like with men, I'm very like more like in my feminine or whatever. But I can come off as kind of alpha to a certain extent, and that only attracts more beta people because you're always like attracted to opposites attract, right? Like I attract beta guys, and I think beta guys like are attracted to alpha girls because they want to fill a void or something. Who knows? But I think it's kind of hard to find guys nowadays just because like as feminism has ruined women, all this progressivism has ruined men as well, so that they don't even want to provide, and women don't want to be provided for. So now the people in the middle who want like those traditional things, they're kind of screwed because nobody wants that, neither the girls nor the guys.
Well, and we were talking offline before we started recording. Colleges. I mean, these
Yeah.
universities don't prep, in my opinion, because it's been a long time since I've been in school. But they don't prep these. They don't encourage men to be men, and they don't teach you any life skills. I don't think there's a value in a college degree anymore.
Oh, absolutely not. College is a complete scam. Unless you're going to be like, unless you want to go into law school or you want to be an engineer, Although with all the Indians they're importing, maybe consider not doing that because you will be replaced with low skill or I guess high skill workers from another country
You won't
because
even be
they'll
considered. You won't even be considered.
exactly. So maybe scratch that. So law, I guess seminary and engineering is the only and medicine if you want to be like a doctor. But aside from that, if you're determined to go to school, go to a community college. It's much cheaper. You can pay that off. You can pay it off as you're going, and you can get like a trade. Go to like a trade school and get like a real, degree in something that where they actually teach you to do something, a skill. But yeah, college is a total scam, and you waste a lot of years of your life, especially girls. Like guys don't really have. They do have a time limit. Like you. I mean, there's this. People think like guys can get like a young girl no matter how old they are, but like there's only a certain echelon of guys who actually can get that, so we all run out, we all hit the wall, but girls hit the wall sooner and we waste all the best years of our life in college getting nothing. Like when you go to college you learn nobody dates here, so don't even bother liking anybody because the guys aren't interested. Everybody's cheating on everybody else. It's just not conducive to finding your mate and graduating and getting married, right? So you just lose 4 years of your good years and you get nothing out of it except a lot of debt.
So I was a friend of mine, Matt Smith. He's got his son Maxim, who I've had on here, who's I think he's 19, 19 or 20, but he decided that he did not want to go to a 4-year college. And
Right.
you okay on time? Do you have to go?
Oh yeah, I was just checking.
Okay. Just let me know if you got to go.
You're good. I'll give you a
Just tell me. It's
some
fine. No, you just
some
tell
kind
me.
of a
Just be
gesture.
like, hey, I gotta go. But so he decided. Maxim decided that he was not going to go to a 4-year college.
Okay.
So his father Matt and Doug Casey, who I've had them, all of them actually on here. They came up with the idea of they're writing a book about this called The Preparation. Hopefully, it'll
Okay.
be out in the spring. I can't wait to read it. But so what they decided was to use that money to acquire life skills.
Right.
So the first thing he did was he went to EMT school. Now
Okay.
they live in Uruguay. So he went to EMT school in believe it was Idaho for
Okay.
like 3 months, whatever the EMT program is, 3 or 4 months or something. And then from there he met people where he had an opportunity to go fight wildfires in Oregon.
Oh, nice.
The
That's
next
cool.
thing he's doing is surfing. He's going to learn how to surf.
Hmm.
Or I'm sorry, not surfing, sailing. He's going to learn how to sail.
Oh, nice. That's cool. I've always wanted to do that.
Which, again, another life skill. So we did a conversation with Matt and then my friend Matt Bracken, who's a former Navy SEAL. And Matt Bracken made a suggestion like, here's an idea for your son. Go to a soup kitchen and
Yeah.
volunteer, because in a soup kitchen you learn with large quantities of food and limited resources how to make a lot of meals in a short amount of time for a lot of hungry people. Like that's a
Right.
skill set you just, it's valuable.
Yeah.
So my question is, and I don't know the answer, is for a girl, like if a 17-year-old girl reached out to you, I don't know that would be the similar trajectory for a young girl versus a young boy.
Right. I gotta say, it's kind of a tough time. We're in an interim period where the pendulum swinging back to traditionality, but we're not there yet, right? So until it gets there, neither the men or the women are ready to fall into their roles. So somebody's got to fall into that role first. And, men are leaders, men are even biblically, they're the head of the house. So that's kind of their designated role. So until the men decide, okay, we're leaning into this provider role. We're going to find women. We're going to marry them. We're going to provide for them. They're going to have kids and take care of them at home. The women are kind of like in limbo. So, I would say there's a certain period of your time, of your life, where you are going to have guys interested in you. You're going to have a lot of options. And while you have a lot of options, get with the best guy that has the least defects, right? And is the closest to your worldview, because that window will close and you will, move into another portion of your life where you simply don't have those options, right? You're a little bit older, your time's going out, your fertility's going down. So, but again, you can't just depend on getting married, right? I mean, I was raised very conservatively as a homeschooled, and then I finished off at a Christian school. Um, you know, very like good girl and very sheltered and whatever. Even into, college, I was the same way. And I just didn't find somebody that stuck in that time. And now I'm like, okay, well, the time's run out. So it is what it is. But um, at the same time, for girls, you have to provide for yourself because if you don't find a husband, I mean, you can't just be homeless, right? So it's kind of tough. Like I would say, just try to get like a role that's the closest to your natural role, like maybe teaching or babysitting or something like that. But definitely prioritize finding a good guy young while you still have the options because the options will run out and you won't be having people asking later on. So try to prioritize that. At the same time, you got to have a backup plan in case that doesn't happen because not everybody does find a guy who wants that sort of thing because a lot of people get married and they still they don't even want a traditional wife. They want the wife to work and whatever. So like I said, it's kind of a tough time because you want to be that homemaker, but at the same time, if there's not a guy that wants you to be a homemaker, what are you supposed to do? You still have to work. You got to provide for yourself. So just prioritize that time when you do have those options and maybe don't be quite so picky because there will be a time when you will regret being that picky and passing over good guys when they were asking.
Do you think there's value in a college degree?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe not
See,
really. No, it didn't help me. It didn't help me get
me
a
either.
job, and now it's like it didn't help at all.
Me either. You know what I remember about college? Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. Wait, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then Friday morning,
Yep.
Saturday morning, Sunday morning.
Right? It's worthless. Like you don't learn anything. You get indoctrinated. You lose the best years of life. You're not even having fun. Like I would say, instead of going to college, get like some seasonal job, like work at a ski slope or be a lifeguard or a sailing instructor or a shooting instructor, something like that. You're learning more life lessons and you're actually going to enjoy your life as opposed to just throwing it away in college, which is just a big business and going into debt and getting nothing out of it.
So you think the pendulum's swinging back towards the more traditional? Because I like people talk this game, but
Yeah.
based on what I see on social media, I don't see it. Because some of the biggest conservative, whatever they call themselves, on the right, and you see the outfits they're wearing, I'm like, yeah, you're really no different than
Right.
the other side.
I mean, yeah, it's this whole like I don't know, alternative media, it's all like for every like 5 people who are genuine, there's like 20 who are just, posers or whatever. Like it's very hard to find a genuine person in this kind of scene. Um, but yeah, I would say in general, like women are followers, so where the men go, what's in fashion at the time, women will follow along with that. So like in the 70s, 60s and 70s when feminism was like on the rise and it was cool to be in the workforce. In fact, you got made fun of by other women if you weren't in the workforce. So women all just did that. But if we can fix that to where now it's cool to be traditional and be in your traditional role, then that kind of will help fix that, right? And women will just fall into place. That's why I encourage the guys lead the women, right? We will take the reins if the guys are not in charge because somebody has to. But that's not what women want to. Yes, you can reference these crazy people that you see on social media and like the worst of the worst, obviously. There will always be horrible women. But for the most part, women are very pretty malleable and if they have a strong leadership with men, and if the men capture the culture wars and change the narrative to where it's cool again and it's not embarrassing to not work and it's not embarrassing to just stay at home and take care of your kids, you're going to see women kind of fall into line because women again are malleable and they follow a strong leader. We just need the strong leaders.
Do you see? That's where I mean the deterioration of our society. It's just you just see the decline, and I don't know how
Yeah.
you reverse that at this point.
Well, and a big part of it is all kids being raised in public school, and they're from the time that they are basically babies. I mean, mothers sometimes will go back to work after having the baby for 3 months, right? And so they're being raised by people who don't care. A lot of people, a lot of these teachers are opportunists. They want to get in there and they want to indoctrinate your kids because they're these SJWs, they're these freaks. And since they don't want to have kids, they want to steal yours, right? So a big part of the problem is kids not being raised in the home, and they're being raised on the under the indoctrination of the state schools. And they're learning to walk in line and stand in line and obey and be a good little sheep and don't question anything or you'll get sent to the principal's office. Don't be rowdy as a boy or you'll get put on Ritalin or you'll get diagnosed with ADHD if you're wild like children are supposed to be. That's a big problem. If we could figure out how to get women back in the home and children back in the home and out of schools or even in private schools, that would help tremendously.
God, you bring up something with the Ritalin, kind of unrelated but related. All right, don't judge me, Lily. I still have cable, and I was watching TV
Good.
last night, and there was a commercial on for some pharmaceutical drug, but like it'll prevent HIV or something.
Oh, wow.
And it was so they were showing scenarios: gay people, men, women, and then there was it appeared as a straight couple, black. Not white. And this commercial, I'm not kidding you, it had to have been 2 or 3 minutes long.
Dang.
And they kept going back to the gay couple. They like kept. I'm like, this is why I have to get rid of my cable. Like this.
Yeah.
So Big Pharma is not going away through all this. And like I couldn't believe it. Like I could not believe what I was watching last night. I'm like, this is the commercials that they're putting on regular TV.
Right. I know. And it's just like normal now. Like kids aren't even, and that's another bad thing about schools because you'll have like a gay couple and they'll have a kid in school. And now that kid is talking to your kids and they're like, oh yeah, my two dads. So now we're normalizing stuff that 20 years ago, 40 years ago would have been abhorrent or shameful or should have been in the closet. But now it's just normal because it's allowed to be normal, It's wild.
There was a show when I was young. It was called My Two Dads, but both fathers they were straight.
Oh.
Now you couldn't do that. You could never do a show like that where you'd have two dads that were straight.
Right. It's wild what's going on right now. I think, like I said though, again, even the fact that you can the left has it. Well, not the left. I'm done with even left and right at this point. It's just like the people against the government and whoever is running the government.
Who do you think is running? Who do you think is in control, Lily?
I would say follow the money and follow the control. Where we always go into wars. Who do these wars benefit? They very rarely benefit us. Who is starting the false flags that is causing these wars? And I would say it always, for most part, it leads back to foreign governments. Foreign governments are paying off our politicians. APAC has spent over $100 million paying off our politicians to serve their purposes. So I think if you follow the money, it's pretty evident that we're kind of occupied, right? And we have another country somewhat dictating to us what we have to do. There's all the conspiracy theories of who did 9/11 or whatever. But again, if you think of who was celebrating 9/11 and who benefited from 9/11, it's the Greater Israel Project. It's people who, wanted to get us in a war because Israel doesn't want to fight its own wars. They want us to fight their wars. So I would say if you follow the money who's paying off our politicians, if you even look at the people in charge of, culture and surrounding most of the presidents, they have this unique heritage and it's always tied back to that. So, it sounds like a conspiracy theory until you actually start looking into this. And I can attest to that because I came from a, evangelical background where I was like, that's our greatest ally. Those are God's chosen people. And so even when I started learning about this, which was pretty recently, I was a little bit reluctant. I was like, what? Huh? Just one group? That's crazy. It's like the globalists, it's elites. These are just, Satanists. And then I'm like, wow, But it's kind of a coincidence, and I don't think it's a coincidence that every one of the globalists have this affiliation with this nation, right? And the people behind all of the down, degradation of our culture, behind the porn industry, behind all of this, are those same kind of people that are tied to that mothership, if you will. So I think it's kind of evident, in my opinion, after learning about that, that that's could be who's actually pulling the strings and who controls our government.
Yeah, I've had conversations in regards to the Middle East, and this is what I've said because I'm not a Middle East historian, and I'm not claiming to
Right. Me
be.
neither.
But I also say, in terms of Gaza, what happened on October 7th, don't tell me that they didn't know.
Exactly.
They were able to infiltrate a supply chain of walkie-talkies and pagers and blow those things up.
Right.
So you're going to tell me the little stretch of land, which I believe is 15 by 20 miles, 21 miles, paramotors flying in the air, that they had
Yep.
no, and you couldn't put together an event like that in a week. There
Right.
had to have been some type of training
Right.
associated with that.
Right.
And
It's too perfect. Like too many things had to fall in place for that to come to place. And these are the people who are masters at false flags and masters at getting their way. And, I mean, I personally, I think we were complicit in 9/11, and I think they stood to benefit from that and us invade going into the Middle East. Same with October 7th. Netanyahu was facing a lot of backlash. People were trying to get him out. So he had a lot of reasons to want to get involved in a war. He also, there's like I said, the Greater Israel Project. So there's no way any sane person can look at that, be like, well, October 7th happened. The IDF stood down for hours while they were just able to, go through and slaughter people. The defense mechanisms, which are some of the best in the world, just automatically down. I don't know how these people on, tractors and parachutes were able to, break through some of the biggest security measures in the world. It's just too much of a coincidence, and I think you'd have to be stupid to believe that it was a coincidence. So then that begs the question, well then why would they have somebody attack their own people? Well, it's obviously so that they have a means to attack them back, right? Well, now October 7th happened, so now we can do whatever we want over there. October 7th happened, so now we can invade this country and that country that we don't like. And America, you're going to help us because we've pumped tons of money into your economy and into your politicians. So it just kind of makes sense.
yeah, and where I'm at now with that though, because it's like, because whatever political party, and I'm with you, they're one and the same, and I
Right.
think we're going to find that out over the next 4 years. I don't know. I
Yep.
mean, he might be able to slow some things down, and there might be some good things to come out of
There's going to
this.
be upsides. Like, it's still going to be better than Kamala. Like, because at the end of the day, again, all our politicians are owned and operated by the same people. So maybe we'll get less bad things with Trump than we would with Kamala. So that's what I'm rooting for.
Well, and yeah, some of the violent criminals, yeah, illegals, they'll get deported, but
Yeah.
makes you wonder, in terms of like, kind of shifted away from the Middle East here. We can come back to it, but like, with like, what if you do some type of digital ID so you can vote, that way the illegals can't vote. People are going to be all for it.
Yeah. Exactly. And well, it's just priming people and it's walking them slowly because they can't. It's like when you want to get a guy to do something that you want, but you can't tell them because they're kind of stubborn. You have to make it seem like it's their
You have
idea,
to
right?
manipulate them, Lily. You have to be the Julia
Exactly.
Roberts. You have to be the Julia Roberts from the 90s.
I know. I've done this a few times.
I'm
You have to
sure.
make it feel like it's their idea, right?
I'm sure. I'm sure.
It's not me. I'm not asking you to do this. You want to do it because
Right.
it's going to benefit you. So that's what's going on, in my opinion, to all of us. We're all being like led into this so that we're like, yes, that's the way. Let's get a digital currency and then we can finally beat China. Let's bring in all these cheap Indian workers, and then we'll finally be competitive and then we can beat China. Yay, let's go. So I don't believe anything you hear at this point.
Well, it comes back to 9/11, right? I mean, after 9/11, uh, people, TSA and at the
Yeah.
airport, people are like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't really
Yep.
remember. I mean, I was 20, how old was I, 23 at the time. So
Right.
like I wasn't paying attention to this stuff, but
Yeah.
which is amazing for your age, like how in tune, how plugged in you are into all this.
Well, I mean, I think when you're like immersed in it all day, every day, like you kind of learn a lot in a quick amount of time. But I think a lot of it's just like common sense. If you just kind of understand how history works, if you understand how people work, then that's how governments can work on a larger scale, right? It's like if I can figure out how to make this person do what I want, then you don't think the government has figured that out as well. So make the people, what was it? Was it the Patriot Act that they passed after 9/11, which like put in all of these security measures and
It
basically
created Homeland
surveillance?
Security. It created Department of
Yeah,
Homeland Security.
exactly. And now we're just used to this surveillance state because it's for our safety, right? And then in fact, Americans were begging for, we wanted to go into the Middle East because we wanted to kick those Muslims' ass because they did 9/11, right? So it's really smart when you think about it, like hindsight's 2020, but it's just trying to be aware of that that's their playbook so that we don't walk into the trap that they want. Like if you get the vibe that they want you to revolt now, you better not, because they'll be able to quash that rebellion and take out the good leaders. Versus if you have some, patience and you can wait till the right time, just like don't do what you feel like they want you to do.
Well, that's what I was reading earlier today. Obviously following the fires in LA, and it was Bill Ackman and I think Bill Ackman and Elon going back and forth on X about coming up with some type of technology where drones could drop, the water and whatever other powder and getting
Right.
ahead of it, where they
Right.
would be able to recognize early on to prevent these fires from spreading. And it was just
Right.
another idea of the digital world just taking over and
Yeah.
mass surveillance. And that's where you and I can't stop that, but it's going to continue to move forward, and I think it's going to
Right.
advance even further over the next 4 years.
I mean, we're already used to like that story really bothered me. I don't know if you saw it. It was like some old guy who like shot at a drone that was in his backyard. It went pretty viral a few weeks ago. And anyway, the drone was like in his backyard, so he shot it. And they came and arrested him. I don't know if he was in the city limits or if it was private property or whatever the law was. But the fact that we're just being forced to be used to have drones that can literally come down and spy in your house, the fact that we're used to having these smart TVs that can spy, they can listen to what you're saying. In fact, they could be recording what's going on in the house. The cell phone, I mean, this is surveillance. It's like, it's very much 1984, and we're living in that right now. But all of these things, it's like they always Trojan horse them in through, this is going to help you. This is going to help the problem that we caused. Because again, I believe that these fires, I think they're very much preventable. I don't think again, it's like Maui. It's just unusual. So when something just doesn't seem right, same with the flooding in Western North Carolina, it's like, well, you obviously wanted that to happen so that you can get X, Y, and Z, right? So it's just like trying to stay ahead of the game so that you don't fall into whatever they want you to fall in, because they'll use you to achieve their end. And their end is like mass surveillance and complete control so that you can't do anything. You can't even think without being, in trouble. You can't talk or say anything that might be remotely dissident, or you could have somebody show up at your house. Like, that's not what we want, and people are just begging for it at this point because they create these situations like fires, and then people are begging for a savior and begging for a solution, and in comes these altruistic people like Elon Musk, and other people like that we seemingly trust with the solution that has a back end that always, the fine print, we never read it, it gets through, and then we lose more and more rights.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about X now?
I'm not a fan. I mean, I guess it's okay. Like it's freer than most social media, but again, I'm like, okay, this is just like an illusion of freedom. They're giving us a little morsel. They're giving us some scraps on the table and make us feel like we have freedom so that we'll trust them, right? Give us a little bit of what we want, and then we'll be like, Elon's the savior. So I think X in itself was a giant Trojan horse in the fact that it's like, obviously I enjoy using it, but I think it's very temporary benefits. I think they used it as a way to garner trust and respect and affection for Elon Musk through giving people a very temporary time of free speech, which is what people have been craving for. So it's like giving a person who's thirsting to death some water. They're going to feel really indebted to you. So now I feel like that's how Elon has ingratiated himself and really immersed himself into Trump's world. Like he lives right next to him through
Does
this
he live?
Trojan
Does he live
horse.
down there now?
Unless he's moved, he had rented a place like in Mar-a-Lago, so he's like basically living with Trump, which I see that as a major problem. We didn't elect
Yeah.
this guy,
Well, when I saw him at Thanksgiving at Mar-a-Lago, I was like, okay, this is a little weird. And then New
right?
Year's Eve, I saw it, and I'm like, yeah, what is going on here? And the
Right.
other thing too, how can a guy that's running 4 corporations have time to post on X all day?
Yeah, I know. I don't have time to post. I post maybe like 2 or 3 times a day. I don't get it. It's
Yeah.
really weird. The whole Elon Musk thing, people were way too quick to like welcome him into the fold, and I fear they're probably going to do the same thing with Mark Zuckerberg, which is insane.
I mean, that guy, like, then he goes on Rogan, and and
Yeah,
and he has points Dana White to his board on Meta.
yeah,
You know what I feel like, Lily, right now? I'm gonna share this with you. I feel like 20. Remember how in 2020 you're watching all this stuff happen with the lockdowns,
yeah,
and you're like, wait a minute, like this isn't making any sense. And then the vaccines get rolled out, and you're like, wait a minute, am I the only one? Not that I was the only one, but like a minority of people that are like questioning this. This
right.
is how I feel right now. Do you feel
Yeah.
that way?
Oh yeah, it's very much of a faux pas to be, talking out against Elon right now.
Or
But
Trump or the whole thing? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah, like just remember what happened to Rittenhouse, and he was really one of the more. I mean, Fuentes had been talking out against Trump for a while, but Rittenhouse came out, a couple months before the election, and he was saying, I don't really trust Trump anymore. His policies on the Second Amendment are really weak. I'm going to go with Ron Paul. And he faced so much backlash. I was in spaces like I like Kyle's a good guy. Like I would consider myself decent friends with him, and he got totally pilloried under
they
that thing when
crushed
he
him. They crushed him
oh
for that.
100%. He's basically out, which is so fucked up because it's like you're acting now like the left. We're supposed to be the free thinkers, right? And you criticize the leader and you're out. They tried to destroy him, he lost tons of followers, lost tons of endorsements, like stuff like that, just for speaking out about that, right? So I think we're kind of, like you said, we're still somewhat on that. I feel like people are kind of waking up a little bit to it. We're not quite as the forefront like Rittenhouse was at the time, but yeah, it definitely does feel like we're in the minority right now.
Yeah, and I feel, but it's like deja vu. Like here we are again,
I know, but it's our own people turning on us now,
which
right?
which makes it worse.
I know. It's one thing when like the left goes after you because you're like, the crazy lunatic left. Who cares? Fuck them. But whenever your own guys start turning on you, that's when it kind of hurts and you like question, okay, well, am I wrong about this? But then you're like, no, I'm not. So you're wrong because you can't think for yourself. You just have to think in this kind of mob mindset.
Well, and God, Kyle Rittenhouse, almost forgot about him. Is he active right now, or is he just kind of? Do you not? I don't see anything from him.
Yeah, he's just like he's got a lot going on and he doesn't have a lot of support. He's like comes from kind of a real rough household, so he doesn't really have any family. Um and in this sphere everybody is trying to use you for something, right? So you can't really trust anybody. You can't even trust your friends. So he's kind of I would say he's probably, I haven't talked to him in a while, but he's probably kind of having a hard time, but definitely like remember those people because when they're forgotten they're really screwed over. Like good luck being Kyle Rittenhouse trying to get a job. Good luck being Kyle Rittenhouse trying to reinvent your life. It's not going to happen.
People too. People try to use you too.
Oh well, yeah, everybody. I mean, this is a
I'm
very
not that
doggy
cool,
world.
Lily. I'm not that cool. Nobody tries to use me. I'm,
Oh no,
I'm
I
very
wasn't saying
irrelevant. I'm very
that's why I'm
irrelevant.
here.
I'm very
Hey, you're one of
irrelevant.
the
Yeah,
real ones.
you're helping my stock. Nobody's trying to use me. I want to
Oh
be.
no, no,
I
it's
want to
not
be
like
cool.
that.
I want to fit in. I want to be at the big table.
No, you don't. No, you don't. And then everybody's trying to take you down because they want to be the only person at the table. But yeah, anyway.
What are you working on now for yourself, story wise?
I'm just working on building my own channel. I've got a show on Censor.tv. Gavin McInnes, I'd listened to him for a while, and then when all this blew up, he was like one of the first people that came forward and was like, "Would you like to have a show on my platform?" So started doing that. Love the platform. It's amazing. I can say whatever I want there. Yeah, Censor.tv, and then I've just got my YouTube and Rumble. I'm having to axe my old YouTube, like I said, because it's cooked. Like I've had strikes and warnings and monetization, so I'm just gonna have to start from scratch, which sucks. But yeah, that's about all I've got going on. I'm just kind of like pressing forward.
Anything you're focusing on right now? And when will the next episode come out?
On Tuesday. I was gonna stream today, but I've got too many things. I got another show I'm supposed to do at 4. So I don't think I'll be able to stream my show today. But tomorrow I will have my censored show. I do send my censored show on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then I do my normal live stream on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays.
Oh, what other show are you doing later?
I'm doing one with, oh my gosh, what is his name? It's on Stu Peters' network. It's with, what is his name? He's gonna be mad at me now. I can't remember names. He's got like a surname, like it's not his real name, just because of the anonymity thing. But yeah, it's supposed to be at 4 today.
My last question for you. So you run?
Mm-hmm. Well, I used to. I haven't been running lately. I can't stand running in the cold. It makes my lungs hurt. So, but yeah, I'm usually in the summertime big runner.
Every day?
I try. Well, no, probably like 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay. How far do you go?
Usually like my baseline is like 3 miles to 4 miles, and I'll try to, like, if I'm in shape, then I'll run more like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles. But usually whenever I'm like out of shape, it's just around 3 to 4 miles.
Yeah, I love to run. I'm just coming back from an injury, and
Okay.
so I'm like I went out yesterday, ran 3 miles, and I was so excited.
It's the best kind of workout, right? Because you're just on your own. You can kind of chill out. It's really great. Like, especially if you have good knees. I don't have the best knees, so that always kind of gives me problems. But running's awesome.
Yeah, and in Phoenix, I mean, even I physically feel better in the summer, but I'm
Oh
getting
yeah,
old. But it sucks. Like you go out
yeah,
at 5 a.m., 4:30 in the morning, and it's
yeah.
98 degrees.
Oh wow, that's even a little too hot for me. That's
Or
crazy.
80, not 98, excuse me, 88 degrees.
That's still boiling hot though for running.
It sucks. And then the sun comes
Yeah,
out and it just cooks you.
you're just a lizard out there.
You're running with them.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's awesome.
Lily, social media, where can people find you?
I am on X, so it's the Lilly Gaddis on X. And then I have an extended bio in there, so basically all my other links are linked on my X. So yeah, just go follow there, or don't, because I've been kind of offensive lately. It's getting me into a little bit of trouble, but I'm going to try to tone that down again. But yeah, follow me on X, and that's about it.
You getting people coming after you?
I got some angry blacks that are mad at me again. So yeah, not too much, nothing out of the ordinary.
Can't be worse than what it was 8 months ago, though.
Oh no, certainly not. They could never replicate that.
You know, I was just as we're talking, I just realized Harrison from Infowars, he just dropped off of X.
He did. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have Owen Schroyer on my show on Wednesday, so I might bring that up. I don't know. I'll talk to him like beforehand and see what's going on. But yeah, I don't know what's going on. It may be because like Alex is kind of getting like attacked right now, and Infowars in general, so that could have something to do with it. He just had a baby, so who knows? We'll see.
It's big news in the internet world.
Oh yeah.
Well, he didn't get he did he turn it off himself or did Elon?
Uh, I heard no. I heard that he deactivated it, so it's now just like, why did he do that? Is he going to come back, or who knows?
What do you where do you envision your own show and everything going? Do you have a somewhere you want to take this thing?
Um, I've never really been good at 5-year plans, to be honest. They had to force me to write a 5-year plan in college, and I just don't do it. So I just kind of like one day after the next. I don't really have like a vision of it. It would be nice to like be at a point where, I was producing content that was like really that people actually liked. I would like to have like a network of my own in the future, maybe. But we'll just kind of see. I don't really have a vision for right now. I'm just kind of talking, putting the stuff out there. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
Lily, thanks for coming on. I appreciate this and look forward to continuing to follow your work and more conversations ahead.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for having me on. This was great.
Mic drop.